9 female weaknesses men must know. Stoic secrets revealed, a real infidelity story. What if I told you that understanding someone's deepest vulnerability could become your greatest regret? It wasn't about seduction. It wasn't about power. It was about recognition. The way she looked at me, as if she saw right through the armor I'd worn all my life. And before I knew it, I was tangled in something that wasn't just dangerous. It was transformative. 9 little weaknesses. That's what she called them. But each one opened a door in me I didn't know existed. Until one of them led straight to destruction. This is the story of how I ruined everything by learning too much. My name's Zayan, 38, corporate strategist by day, amateur philosopher by night. I wasn't the kind of man who chased drama. I believed in logic, control, routine, those Stoic values I'd built my identity around. I had a wife. Beautiful, brilliant, calm like a mountain lake. We had our ups and downs, but nothing outside the statistical norm. A house in Lahore. 2 daughters. Respectable silence between us. Then came her. Aaliya was hired as a consultant for a client we both served. Younger, maybe 29. She had that kind of intelligence that demanded attention, not loud, just sharp. But it wasn't her mind that disarmed me. It was her empathy. She listened the way no one had ever listened to me. Not even Zara. The first time we had coffee, it was innocent. She mentioned a book, Letters from a Stoic. I lit up. It was my favorite. She smiled and leaned in. Did you know there are exactly 9 emotional triggers that Stoic men often ignore in women? I laughed. Sounds like a clickbait video title. Maybe, she said. But one day, it'll ruin a man like you. I didn't believe her. But I was intrigued. And that was the first mistake. It started as curiosity. Every lunch we shared, she unveiled a new female weakness like a tarot card. Validation, curiosity, emotional escape, security, affection, attention, admiration, freedom, forgiveness. Each one came with a story. A former lover, a fight with her father, a time she disappeared for a week and came back changed. Every woman is ruled by one of these, she said. And every man gets destroyed when he finally meets the one who embodies all 9. I told myself it was academic, intellectual. But the truth was she was describing herself. Over time, the conversation shifted, became private, then secret, then addictive. Zara started noticing. Noticing that I stayed late more often, that I was checking my phone too much, that my silence at home grew longer. One night, I found myself in a hotel room after a client dinner. It wasn't supposed to happen, but it felt inevitable, like gravity had pulled me into a black hole I couldn't resist. Tell me you regret it, Aaliya whispered as we lay tangled in the sheets. I regret not meeting you earlier. I didn't mean it. Or maybe I did. But I knew something had changed. A switch flipped. I wasn't in control anymore. It wasn't just about sex. It was about exposure. She made me feel seen in a way that terrified me. Zara was safety. Aaliya was vulnerability. The deeper I fell, the more I rationalized. Stoic wisdom became my shield. I told myself I was analyzing emotions, not feeling them. Until Zara found the texts. I came home one night to her standing in the kitchen, phone in hand, eyes red. 9 weaknesses, huh? She said softly. Is betrayal on that list? I froze. The silence between us said everything we were too afraid to speak aloud. And in that moment I realized something brutal. I had studied weakness so deeply. I'd forgotten about loyalty. Zara didn't scream. She didn't pack bags or throw plates. She just sat down, took a breath, and said, I always knew I wasn't exciting enough for you. I wanted to deny it, to wrap her in reassurance. But the damage was done. I confessed everything. The lunches, the hotel, the emotional affair that became physical. She listened quietly, like a widow at a stranger's funeral. Then she told me a secret. Aaliya contacted me last week. My stomach dropped. She said she wasn't the villain, that she showed you who you really were, that you were the one who stepped over the line. She told me about the 9 weaknesses, about how men think they're playing the game, but they're the ones being studied. My breath caught. I realized then that I had never been the observer. I had been the subject. I thought I was unraveling her, but she had unraveled me. "Do you love her?" Zara asked. I shook my head.
No.
I loved what she made me feel. "That's not the same." She nodded. "Then we'll try. Try. To fix it. To understand it. You don't destroy 12 years over a moment of clarity. But don't expect it to feel like home for a while." I broke down. For the first time in years. I cried like a boy who'd lost his compass. A week later, Aaliya resigned. No word. No goodbye. She left me a note on a yellow post-it inside the letters from a Stoic copy I'd once lent her. "A true Stoic knows his weakness. Yours was curiosity." That was the last I heard from her. Zara, and I didn't rebuild overnight. Some days were hollow, others too quiet. But over time, the cracks began to fill, not with blind forgiveness, but with understanding. She asked for honesty, brutal honesty. So I gave it to her. I told her how Aaliya made me feel powerful, vulnerable, chosen, and how that was never her fault. We went to therapy. I learned how much I had suppressed under the guise of control, and how my stoicism wasn't strength, it was fear. Fear of being known. Zara showed me that true resilience isn't coldness. It's grace under fire. It's the courage to stay when leaving feels easier. It's been 10 months. We're not perfect, but we're realer than we've ever been. And as for the 9 weaknesses, I see now they're not tools of manipulation. They're mirrors, reflections of what we long for but refuse to admit. And maybe the real secret isn't knowing how to exploit them. Maybe it's learning how to respect them. Because every woman is complex. Every man, too. And sometimes the greatest betrayal isn't in the act, but in forgetting that love isn't meant to be understood. It's meant to be honored. Final thought. I couldn't believe what I was hearing that day in the kitchen. But now I do. The heart doesn't break from impact. It breaks from recognition. So, if you're reading this, ask yourself, not which weakness to watch for, but which truth you've been too afraid to face.